Can I, just a second. On number 6, I don't know if this is proper or not, but there was discussion as far as number 10 in the letter from Mr. Seymour, and as far as the houses and the church not really being willing to deed restriction there. What comes to my mind is that if they are treated as only, if they do have deed restrictions and treated only as residential, that helps the integrity of Bel Air. I just wanted to say that.
One point about that I've been sort of wanting to make for about an hour and a half. Ruth, can you slide that so I can see the lots? Those lots down there, the 4 lots on the other side of the road on the east side, are zoned residential as we sit here right now. And when the plan, as I understand it, is in the works to create these church zones, which may or may not happen, but let's say that it does, there's nothing in the world to prevent the rezoning of all the rest of the church's property and leaving those 4 lots zoned residential. Therefore, they couldn't be used for any purpose other than residential until somebody wanted to rezone them, and then they'd have to come back in here and fight that out whenever that occurs. That issue, to me, is simply solved in that manner, whether the church wants to deed restrict those or not.
May I respond to that just
Yes.
very briefly? I think you're going to find when you try to set up this church zone, and I'm not going to venture an opinion on this, that permitting churches only in one zone is going to be a very difficult issue to grapple with. You've got not only zoning issues, but you've got First Amendment issues there, and you have I can't remember the name of the act, Tom. It's a federal act that
Religious land use practices, RLUPA.
Mr. Seymour, I'm aware of those, and I've been wanting a church zone in this town for a very long time, specifically because it's a use that's allowed in a residential zone now by our ordinances that never contemplated mega churches.
correct.
And that's wrong. I mean, that any way you cut it, acts, federal acts or otherwise, those kinds of uses in a residential zone change that zone from a residential zone to a quasi-commercial zone, and it's a public institution zone, and it just changes the character of it because everything about it's different. And I don't know how we can address that, but I've looked all over town, and Village Green has situations like this. Certainly Thornton has situations like this. Other Sugarwood has situations like this, and you know, the town needs to address this because the churches are getting big enough. They're getting so big that they're not your little neighborhood church that you can walk to on Sunday morning anymore.
One thing, Bob, that some of the neighborhoods have churches that are in subdivisions that have covenants and restrictions, so that there is a manner of this not happening.
I understand that, and my only desire is to put another layer of insulation between the citizen and the person or the institution wanting to use that property in another way, so that the individual citizens don't have to fight this. I think that it would be better to start from the premise that you can't do it. Because if you got to sue somebody every time they want to do something, that's a lot of work. And as you can see, in a loosely and unorganized subdivision like Bel Air, it's not something that you have any way to do. We can't bring a lawsuit, and I say that as a resident of Bel Air. We can't bring a lawsuit because we don't have any money.
Mr. Chairman, may I
That's a
suggest we
fight
get back
for
on
another
item number
day.
7?
Yeah.
Let's go to item number
That's
7.
right. Well, I'm responding to Mr. Seymour, and we'll address that church issue sometime. But anyway, that's the way I feel about it, and I have felt that way for 20 years. All right, going to item 7.